everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I want to apologize for the microphone quality. I have no clue. The microphone I'm using currently is ancient. I know it peaks. I know it sounds bad. Unfortunately, this is all we have. Maybe that'll be another goal. We could add that to the list. Be a real YouTuber. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be going over my 2026 collection goals and wish list. My biggest thing with my collection moving into 2026 is that I want to be intentional with what I get. I think as of last count, I have like over 55 dolls. That's a lot. That's a lot, but I don't want it to be overwhelming. I don't want to be overwhelmed by this hobby because at the end of the day, this is supposed to spark joy, right? So I think the biggest thing for me is to be really intentional with what I add to my collection, what I really want to have. And I mean, honestly, looking back at everything that I learned from like the Celine Doll show, I want to have my creativity shine through these dolls. And I really feel like kind of going into our first goal, which is that I want to really learn how to sew. You know, I could throw it down on the sewing machine, but my grandma's, I love to just kind of hole up in her basement and work on my sewing machine. Every time I say sewing, just imagine me acting like I'm pushing fabric into the sewing machine. That is so stupid, but I do that all the time. Nothing that I've made is show ready. I did sell with the Celine Doll show when I sold Penelope. She was in like a set that I made. It was very dodgy, very dicey. It had like a green gingham top and pants. And you know what? To the person who bought it, I am so sorry because I'm sure at one point my mom was like, is this what it's come to? Because her pants were like falling down. My mom's like, her is showing. Thank you, April. I know. But I do like to sew. I think it is so fun. I love just to put on like podcasts or ASMR. Listen, I am that person. And just like listen and kind of like zone out and just be in the zone, the creative zone. So I would love to be able to really shore up that skill because I like doing it. I just know that that's a way that I can improve. There's nothing wrong with improving. You know, we got to improve. We're always growing. We're always learning, right? Kind of in that same vein, my second goal is to really shore up my customs. I love making customs. I've not made this a secret. I think it is so fun to be very Sid from Toy Story and just take something that's already beautiful and turn it into something new. I think that is so fun. I love doing that. I really, really do. It scratches just the right part of my brain that I feel like I'm not only working with my hands, but I'm like it's just so fun. I love customizing. Like, I just want to step it up. I feel like the big thing that I really want to do, especially after like the really fun positive feedback I not only got from the Celine Doll show, but also on Instagram and TikTok posting the alien dolls, is I want to make more of them with the intention of selling them at the Celine Doll show. That's coming up in October 10th, 2026, Saline, Michigan at the Saline Rec Center. I'll see you there. And I really do want to make more alien dolls. I am going to bring like the customs that I did, of course, but I think just bringing like 3 or 4 custom aliens would be really fun in addition to the customs that I'm going to bring. Also, on the topic of customs, and this is more for my personal collection, I would love to make more dolls based on artists that I like, with the major one being that I want to make a Mike doll because my goal is to make all 4 monkeys, and I have Davy and Peter, as you can see right here, and I would love to make a Mike doll, and this would be a really meaningful year to make him just because December is unfortunately the 5-year anniversary of his passing. And I do know like I said, I think I mentioned it in my All My Dolls video, but I know how, like, what pieces I need to make Mike and Mickey, who are the 2 remaining monkeys. And Mike, I know he's a Marie Grace mold. I just think that would be the one thing that I would want for him. And I want all 4 of them to be different molds. But I do want to make him a Marie Grace mold, like I said, but he would have to have brown eyes, and I hate eye swaps. I know I'm kind of getting decent at them, but I hate eye swaps. That is just, what it does to your thumbs. Ugh. But I will have to grin and bear it because I do want a Mike doll. And the only Marie Grace molds that have brown eyes are medium skin tone. And Mike Nesmith was a lot of things, but not someone with medium tone skin. Nope. Next up would be to potentially downsize. Now, I didn't really go into the Celine Doll show with the intention of bringing customs that I had already had that I wasn't connecting with, ones from my personal collection, but it went out that way. And honestly, those were the first ones that sold. Like Cordelia sold before anybody else. And I loved Cordelia. I thought she was beautiful, but she was not the one that I thought would sell first. I honestly thought it was going to be Solana or Haven, who was a custom Isabel that you guys never saw with her Rapunzel wig that I wanted so bad. I was like, oh, this is going to be the most pretty doll. Like, I'm so excited. And then I made her and I'm like, this is Julie. Girl, this is Julia. I compare, and I don't mean to, but I compare so many dolls to the first 13 that is one thing that for me as a collector, it's really hard for me to connect to a doll if I think that they're too similar to a doll that I already have. Like, that's why I sold my 75 Freddy, because he looked too much like Jace. That's why I sold my little Anastasia. No, Esther, who was my custom Kira, because she reminded me way too much of Krissa. Like, if they remind me too much of a doll that I already have, I'm gonna sell them. And that's just something that, like, at the end of the day, we love these dolls, but they don't have feelings. They have sentimentality because we give them that as collectors. And I can always make them if I miss them. I mean, look at Bijou. Look at Bowie, you know what I mean? Like, if I sell them and I regret it, I could just make them again. Now, finally, a straightforward goal. I want to finish Melody's collection. As it stands right now, I only have 3 more pieces of hers that I need to collect it. Woohoo! I want Bo. I want her dog Bo so bad. I have a video coming up where I highlight all the pieces that I have of Melody's collection. And I talk about Bo. No, I want Bo really badly. Anyhow, but as I was saying, I primarily focus on the clothing just because, as much as I would love to have her electric piano and the studio, I have no space for that. I need her new pajamas, the plaid pajamas. Those are very, very cute. I need her fancy floral dress, which I know is still available from American Girl. I thought it wasn't. And of course, her winter coat. I love her winter coat. So, seems pretty doable. I would love if they released a new outfit for each of the historical girls to commemorate the 40th anniversary. In a perfect world, they would do that. And so then, I could also get that. I'm not going to rush into this. Like I said, mindfulness. But if they go on super sale, or if I find them secondhand, I do want to ideally I'd find all 3 pieces secondhand, and Bo too. Just because I like that idea more so than buying direct from American Girl. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If that is your dream, if that is your journey. However, that's not really mine. Like I said, Mercari Warrior, eBay Champion. And last but not least, in any way, shape, or form, I really do want to elaborate on the world my dolls live in. So that's why I wrote lore. I know that word has kind of lost its meaning, but I want my newer dolls to have as deep and intricate stories and interconnections with one another as like my originals do. Now, personally, I've kicked around the ideas of bringing back some of the doll blogs multiple times. Like during COVID, like during my second wave after I graduated college, I was like, that was the first thing I did, was I actually remade Prudence's blog on Tumblr. And I think I still have it somewhere. I don't think I deleted it, but I didn't really write anything. So honestly, to be 100% transparent and not to get too into it, because I do want to make a video about it down the line. If there's interest, who am I kidding? I'm interested in it. I'm probably going to make it. But a lot of the stories that I told with the dolls were very reminiscent on, of course, what was happening in my life at that time, but also what I was really interested in. So like Prudence was into like the Glee Club girl bye. Krissa, her best friend was from England. Like there was just stuff was constantly happening through these little humans, these little dolls, and it was off the cuff. It was crazy, but you know what? It was high camp. And I just remember I was having so much fun writing them. That's really how one of the very first ways that I knew that I was a writer and that I loved writing, because I would do that religiously. I kept up on those blogs, and I just want my newer dolls to have stories like that not crazy, not like obviously written by a 13-year-old. Stuff that is very, I don't want to say like lived in, but I want them to feel like original characters because they really are. And I know that like Rosetta deserves a story, and you know, Xiomara deserves a story just like Marisol has, just like Callie has. So we got to build up on that. That's a goal. That's a goal. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I have more plans, of course, more doll videos and more things that'll be coming your way in the big 26. So keep an eye out on them. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye now.